We have Gargoyles and the Fantastic Four doing one more crossover, this time from Dynamite Comics. Let's talk about that in this video. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Daniel from the Next Issue Podcast. And in this channel, we are all about deep diving into comic books, movies, television, and we always have a critical eye. And today, we have a very exciting crossover and an advanced review for Gargoyles Fantastic Four #1. That's right, the Stone Guardians of the Night meet Marvel's first family one more time. So let's jump into this one. This book really is a lot of fun. The emphasis on family, the way these two mythologies expand and reflect on each other. There's a lot of stylized, dynamic art. It all resonated with me very well. There are some caveats for new readers. I'll get into that later on. But first, let's dig into what the creative. Let's dig into the creative team for this, and then we'll talk about what works for me in this issue. This is written by writer Greg Weisman, who is the creator behind Gargoyles and also wrote the Marvel side of this crossover. We have George Kambadais on art, crafting the visuals here, giving the Gargoyles their grit and the Fantastic Four, that sweeping movement of the family. We have letters by Jeff Eckleberry, and of course uh, we have a lot of covers that we're going to take a look at later on in the video. So stay tuned for that. This is Dynamite Entertainment's side of the story in conjunction, of course, with Marvel characters, but this one is the release from Dynamite. So like a month ago, we had the Fantastic Four Gargoyles #1. That one is from the side of Marvel Comics. So we also have a review for that in the channel if you haven't checked it out. I think one of the strongest things about this crossover isn't just like heroes meet heroes for a fight. It really leans into the idea that these two families, the Manhattan Clan and from the Gargoyles and the Fantastic Four, each with their own legacy, responsibility, and even their kids. Right? We see Franklin and Valeria and Nash. The theme of that family, it really runs central to the issue. The book focuses even more on family than expanding the universe. And I think that's what really works for me. There are moments where the Gargoyles reflect on their centuries old duty and they feel anchored, while the Fantastic Four bring the contemporary superhero family dynamic into this. I think it really works for me. And I think it's a big part of why these books are successful and why the fans kind of keep coming back to these properties. The art by Kambadais is a standout. It's stylized, it's dynamic, full of movement. I think it really resonates with how the gargoyles are captured in their action. The sequences just feel very energetic. It makes this field comic very dynamic overall. Whether it's the layouts or the panel transition and the use of the colorful movement from one side of the story to the other, it just really adds a lot to that sense of motion, that sense of urgency. um, I think that the idea of having these two parallel stories really worked for me, but I think it might be a little confusing for new readers, because there are two stories going on concurrently that we're going back and forth as we flip the pages. Right, the issue uses these intertwined threads, the Gargoyles history, the Fantastic Four in the present, as well, when they're both kind of off in different missions. You see the kids doing one thing in the building, you see the Fantastic Four out on a mission. There's a lot of moving pieces to this one, so it might be something that you definitely want to take your time and make sure that you have enough concentration to read the video. If you're not familiar with the Gargoyles lore or the extended family structure of the Fantastic Four, I think you'll be able to keep up, but you might not feel the full weight of some of the character beats. The book just kind of assumes that you know who the Manhattan Clan are, at least. But even if you don't have the centuries of history, they don't really spend a lot of time reintroducing everyone. So I would say there's a little bit of a barrier for new readers, but I think it's still fun enough, and it gives you rich backstories enough for everyone, for both teams, that you might really enjoy the book regardless. The balance in the families, I think that's really fun, and then of course the villain setup that feels very familiar. While the crossover is fun, there's still some threads that are happening. Right, the villain kidnaps a kid and the heroes finally reunite. Like, all these staples of a big team book, they're very well executed. So even if you feel like you might have seen this before, you've never seen it through this lens. if you're a fan of this franchise, especially if you like Gargoyles, the animated series from the era, or the modern Fantastic Four, who are having a pretty good year with their movie out. I think you'll really enjoy this book. It really offers a lot of real character work with family and legacy, some stylish visuals, and then of course celebrating the mythologies that come from both of these properties. It's a fun team up. It doesn't feel like a pure gimmick. There's heart, there's stakes, there's a fun story in there. This isn't just a novelty crossover. It really feels like both sides got something out of it, and then kind of said like, we respect your universe too. Much love. So before we get out of here, let's look at all the covers from Dynamite. You guys know Dynamite loves to bring in great creators to give them a lot of covers. So here we have the first. This is just the main cover, but here we have this really cool Declan Shalvey cover. Declan Shalvey's been doing a lot of stuff with Dynamite, including the current stuff on Thundercats. Make sure to go check that out. We have this Amanda Connor variant, which I don't think I had seen Amanda Connor draw Gargoyles for sure, but I don't know if I had ever seen her draw the Fantastic Four. So very, very fun. We have this Mark Bagley, like classic art, Mark Bagley, classic Spider-Man artist. So very cool to see him do this. We have this Nicoletta Baldari, a very different look, just a very different tone from everything else we've seen. So that really is a lot of fun though, because it's a different look at these properties. We have a blank cover, of course, so you can get your own commission sketch. We have this Lucio Parrillo original variant, but this is, of course, the Virgin variant, but this is also the main cover. And then we have Amanda Connor again, and then we are back to our main cover by Parrillo. So there you have it. If you enjoyed this book, I would give this a very high score. I don't do like a number score, but I would definitely recommend you check this out. It's only a one shot, and you can really get in, get out, and get as much of the story as you want. If there are no next issues for this is a one shot. But I think we could be looking at some really fun crossovers coming maybe in the future from these companies, just because I think this one was a success. If you enjoyed this review, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell for more notifications, because we do a lot of really cool stuff, including a lot more reviews, our live streams on the weekend, and I got plenty of more comic reviews coming. But let me know in the comments, which side of the crossover did you enjoy more? The stuff with the kids, the stuff with everybody on their mission. If you picked up the issue, what was your favorite panel or family moment? And what crossover would you like to see next? Would you like to see the Gargoyles team up with somebody else from Marvel, maybe the X-Men or the Transformers, maybe now that they have their own universe going on? So, thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. And of course, make sure to check out all this other stuff. Bye bye.